Oh, dear.
I need a stage face. Quick, give me a stage face. Greetings, Earthlings. We are getting...
Oh, my goodness.
We'll share why we cracked up earlier. A little bit later. We're Johnita, Francis and Trish Rock, empowerment influencers.
That was my bit. No fun. Let's start again.
Okay.
Breathe.
Greetings, Earthlings.
We are Johnita, Francis and Trish Rock, your empowerment influencers.
And no fluff conversations about life, empowerment, spirituality, and freedom.
Yay! Thank you all for joining us for tonight's show, sponsored by Holistic Bliss Magazine.
Yes, thank you all for joining us if you're in the live audience tonight.
And a bit of a false start there.
We always get together and have a chat about the week that was, or different things that we've come across in different videos and stuff, and we just lost it right before we and it was all to do with technical issues, and it was we're never going to leave our day jobs to be IT people, and we'll just leave it at that.
All righty, so
are you ready for another exciting week?
Yes. Let's see. I'm actually excited today. I've got those butterflies in my stomach like the first couple of episodes where I wasn't nervous about the topic. So I'm excited about today. So maybe it's going to be a topic that, will just flow easily for us.
I think that, you know what? Every time we spin the wisdom wheel, the wheel of wisdom, and I think, oh my God. And then when it comes up, I'm like, oh, and then I think, we know about this. This is what we were doing last week, or this is what come up this week, or we were talking about this earlier today. So I'm not even scared. And that is a massive challenge, and Spirit will accept it.
All right, well, let's bring it up then.
Ready to go?
We are ready to go. The Wheel of Wisdom. Wish us luck, everybody, and let's see what we get tonight for your entertainment.
Trusting the messages.
Well, that's a pretty cool topic. Trusting the messages. This could go any way. This could go all sorts of ways. Let's get that off screen now.
Let me get my little screen back. There we are. Trusting the messages.
Interesting. So I guess there's different messages first. So should we define what the messages are first, or should we just go with it and see what comes up? Because there's different categories of messages.
That was so Virgo. I'm just having a little proud moment now because
I've categorized everything in my head.
And you've just said something that I would say, and I love that. That's so like process. Okay.
It is.
I think, look, I reckon we should do it. I reckon we should define what messages are and what we're referring to when it says trusting the messages, because they can come from all sorts of places.
They do. So let's name a few. So obviously there's guides. Mm-hmm. I get messages through from cards when they come. So it's all the clairs, isn't it? You get messages from all the clairs. So there's those messages. What other messages do we get? I guess they would all be associated with the clairs in some way, but there's also those other random things where you pick up a brochure, or a song comes on the radio, or you meet someone in the street and they say something. So
exactly. And I think, and I see this a lot in the work that I do in particular, because people are saying, how do I know it's for me? Well, the fact that you've gone, oh, is that for me? That's for you. if you've paid attention to it and you've honed into it and you've gone, that's like the 4th yellow BMW I've seen today. That is something, that is a message that you need to take on board. You've asked for something, you've asked for confirmation, or affirmation of what's going on, and the universe is saying, hey, Dobie, hello, and it's trying to
Yeah.
give you those messages, and it's up to us to be receptive to them.
Be in the now moment, I guess. And this afternoon, I was helping somebody with their website all afternoon, and it kind of got to the point, when we were wrapping up, where seriously, it just would not. I couldn't edit text. It just kept flipping, and after the fifth time, I'm just like, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
So you've got to get those messages too.
Absolutely.
Being in the moment, I think, really helps, though, doesn't it? With any messages, being in the moment.
Yeah, it's very important, because when we're like, everyone talks about the angel numbers, and I see 1111 all the time, and I say, yeah, that's great. That's the universe saying to you, pay attention to what's going on right now. What are you thinking about? Where is your mind? It's a way for the universe to say, hang on a minute, come back to here. We need you here right now, because we need to explain something to you. So it's bringing you. You can be off with the pixies, driving a car when we're on subconscious autopilot, and then when we get to the shops, we go, shit, how did we get here? Because you honestly zone out. So the universe will send us little things like the angel numbers or the master numbers, and that's an opportunity for us to go, oh, hang on, there's 1111 again. And as soon as you say that, it brings you straight into the moment of the present.
And then you can decipher what the message is, and that's the same with coins, feathers, colors, all that kind of stuff. I was really seeing vivid colors, and I'm seeing it now too, vivid colors this morning when I woke up. So I don't know what's shifted. As you know, we're all going through some some stuff. So something shifted this morning, and I started off the morning with I had to climb under the doona with Rosie, because she was playing a little I'm under the doona game. So I went under there with her for a little while, and there was this bright red color all behind her. I'm like, whoa, okay, that's interesting. And then I got out, and see, and just notice those things. I didn't think much of it. And then I got out, and then I'm sitting on the lounge looking out at the reflection. I don't know why I was looking at reflection in the window, but there was this luminescent blue, and I'm like, cool, shit. It's twice in one morning. Now I'm looking here at my camera and it's blue again. It's just like this glowing blue. So, it's just interesting. So the messages come in all sorts of interesting ways. Yeah.
Yeah. I like it when, and I always use this as an example, because it's hindsight, you wrong, rotten mongrel bastard. But that aside, when I first met certain people in my life, I would get songs, and they would be not necessarily new songs. Like when I met contestant number 2, Brian Adams' Have You Ever Really Loved a Woman was playing all the time. And it's quite an obsessive song. Like, this guy has just met her, and he already can see his unborn children in her eyes. That's a little bit slow down, cowboy. But of course, we don't interpret the song like that. We think, oh, that's so romantic. He loves me. This guy was obsessive and controlling.
Yeah.
So the song playing constantly was a little, hang on a minute, you can see his unborn children in your eyeballs. You haven't even met yet. So that was a huge thing. And now I chuckle about it, because hello, dopey, I should have seen that message. I've been doing this for a long time now. And then number 3 was Brilliant Disguise. And it was Bruce Springsteen. So it's just an older song. And he was a brilliant disguise. He had a facade. He was a very depressed human being. He had a lot of issues that he was dealing with. And that happy persona on the outside was a brilliant disguise.
And so, you were probably getting direct messages from Spirit, which you were conveniently ignoring. And so then they threw a song at you, which you still ignored.
Which I danced to and thought, this is great. I haven't heard this song for ages. Love Bruce Springsteen. So, yeah. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you.
It's so interesting.
When I met my husband, it was a beautiful song that played, and it was very nice. And he said to me, oh, all I hear is Will Ferrell's bloody happy all the time. And I'm like, Really? Great.
Yes.
That's what I want to hear. So I was
Okay.
getting a more romantic version of a song, whereas he was getting a happy song. So it's actually kind of cool, but lots of messages in different ways. So
Absolutely. And so when we're getting messages from spirit channel, well, I kind of feel it's, well, is it the same or is it different? A message from spirit or channeling a message? I kind of feel channeling comes from my higher guides, so I kind of feel that's a bit different. But it's sometimes they're just so wacky, and I know, over the years you've had to learn this as well. It's just say it as it comes,
yeah,
because the mind starts going. It's like, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that weird thing. They're going to think I'm a loopy. But when you actually just say whatever the message is, people just go, oh, I totally get it. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
okay. So with all of the feedback, I've learned to trust that. And I think it's a lot to do with trust, but it's also to do with how you deliver it too. Because in the beginning, when I was getting really strong messages about people, for people, I would deliver it in the wrong way, and they would just totally dismiss it, or they're not friends anymore, or whatever it is. So trusting, it's one thing, and the delivery is also very important.
yeah.
The
Hit and miss, and it does. And even these, like, I had Bateman's Bay. There was a fair on last year sometime, and I had a lady that sat down in front of me. And as soon as she sat down in front of me, there was this beautiful, strapping-looking man that came in straight away, and I knew that they were together, but I couldn't quite work out how, because they didn't have a marriage vibe or a brother and sister vibe, but it was just a very close bond, and they were best of mates. And he actually committed suicide. And when I looked at him, and I didn't get the feeling that he was unwell. So I'm thinking, okay, was it an accident? And when I said, was it an accident? He said, no. And he actually mimicked that, like tongue out the side of his mouth. And I'm like, you've got to be shitting me. I'm famous for telling it how it is. And you want me to say this to this lady? And I said to her, look, I'm really sorry, but he's doing something and I need to demonstrate this. And she said, that's fine. And when I did it, she burst into tears. And I thought, you're a dead man. I'm going to bring you back to life and I'm going to kill you again. I was so mad with him. But at the end of the reading, she said, if you didn't tell me like that, I would never have believed that it was him. That's exactly what he would do. That's exactly how
Yeah.
he explained stuff like that. And she said, and I loved that. I needed that validation. And I'm like, I had been yelling at this man in my head for 20 minutes about, how could you make me do this? She started crying. She never stopped crying. It was awful. It was really awful for me to sit there and watch her go through that. But there were tears of healing.
Yeah, and if you didn't trust yourself, she wouldn't have believed you. And I've had
Never
some
do that.
times I've had some experiences like that too. So yeah, it really has to be. You've got to trust yourself first, I guess.
Yeah.
It really comes back to the trusting yourself, because the message, I mean, we trust the message, don't we? It's ourselves that we don't trusting to deliver the message.
Yeah. It's confidence. And also, I mean, even though we're mediums and we're psychics and we tap into the clairs, we're also dealing with different personalities. They might be in spirit, but they've got different ways of articulating and communicating themselves.
Yeah.
So sometimes if someone, like I've had people that have had lung cancer or throat cancer, and they haven't chosen to use their words to speak. They've chosen symbols, or they've chosen hand gestures, or they've just showed me in different ways what they want, the message that they want me to put across. And when I say, it's kind of like they won't speak. And people will say that they would confirm straight away, oh, they had this or they had that. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Now I get it. Because there's that little moment where you're thinking, oh my God, I can hear them. Why can't I hear this person? Am I failing in being able to help this person that's sitting in front of me? You have all those doubts.
And it all starts, doesn't it? It starts ticking over. Yeah. Well, I get those feelings. So I can say to someone, I'm really sore here right now, or, did they have an issue with their lungs? Because I feel it. So
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? But it
it
really is.
is.
And everybody will be different. Like, I can see them and have conversations with them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are comfortable having a conversation with me.
Yeah.
Or sharing how they passed away or what they did. I had a chap that committed suicide, another man. I have a lot of suicide people. And I was reading for his mum and dad, and he was a bikie in a bikie club, a full-coloured bikie. And I could hear the motorbikes, I could hear what was going on, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. If he hadn't actually come right out and said, I was a bikie. And then I said to his mum, I sort of pieced it all together, and I said, I think that your son might have been running with the bikies. She said, oh, yeah, everyone knows that. And I'm like, okay, cool. I didn't know whether I was jobbing him into his mum or not. But he was reluctant to talk about it because you don't talk about that sort of stuff. What happened to the clubhouse stays in the clubhouse. So it was really, so it's different. And I don't think you'll get similarities, but I don't think you'll ever read the exact same way for each individual person because they're so individual, even the spirit.
Absolutely. And I've always found that it's the message that they want to bring in that's the important thing, but you have to get the client, whoever you're reading for or whoever you're helping, you have to give them that bit of validation, I guess, or have them believe the messages that are coming from you. So so it's really important to do that, but I think the message is really important too. And there was once when I was doing a Reiki session on this lady, and I was at her feet, and her face kind of morphed into this man's face. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like, that's pretty cool. Like years ago, I would have been going, oh my God. But it was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's really cool. Wish I could film this. And anyway, then she woke up, and I'm like, oh, because I couldn't get any. I'm in my head. I'm like, tell me who you are. Tell me who you are. What do you want? What do you want? And all I could hear was, I'm sorry. Tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I'm sorry. I'm like, oh, okay. So she was sitting up afterwards, and I just said, did you look like your dad? And she said, yeah, we're like twins. And I'm like, oh, okay, you morphed into him, and he says he's sorry. And she's just burst into tears, and it just was really what she needed. But if I had have just said, oh, your dad was here and he said sorry, there's no proof, or not that her morphing head was a proof, but there's nothing kind of backing it. And so you have to trust the messages from them that give you the credibility to give the message, I guess, as well.
Yeah. I when I read for Italians or Greeks, as soon as their grandparents come through, if their grandma comes through, I always say, oh, what recipe are you going to give me? Because I want to stir them up and get them going because they are bloody characters. And I had one lady, and she said, I'm not cooking. I don't cook. I don't like it. Just because I'm Italian doesn't mean I have to cook. And she was hilarious. And when I said to her granddaughter, I said, oh, she's Italian, but she doesn't like to cook. She goes, oh, my God. She said, every reader I go to spots my Italian looks and says, oh, well, they love to cook. And she bloody hated it. So it was really good validation was, grandma came straight in and she said, I'm not cooking, But I have that, I want to, if a spirit comes in and they're a little bit not sure, or a little bit unsure, or a lot of men, especially in certain age brackets, don't like to come right out the way the girls do. So I know that they're a lot more reserved and they're starting up their conversations with me. I will always have a bit of a joke or try to ice break how you would at a party, but I'm doing it with spirit just to get them comfortable to know that whatever they did as human beings, whatever choices they have made, it's irrelevant. They're on the spirit side now. So it doesn't, to me, all that other stuff doesn't matter anymore because it's, they're on to the next chapter. So, but trusting messages, oh my goodness, they'll come in lots of different forms.
Yeah, really. Even well, I really do get a lot of messages using cards. I guess it's my way of relaxing. Remember last week we were talking about, writing or scribbling or something to get ourselves, was it last week or the week before? Who knows?
Recently.
Recently.
The other day. Say the other day.
The other day, we were talking about distracting. Oh, there's Why are we echoing?
I don't know. I'm not echoing.
Hmm. Anyway,
Message.
yeah. So now I've lost track. Okay,
We're talking about distracting our brains so they
we're talking
relax.
about distracting. Yeah. So I kind of feel that doing cards is like that for me, and I do look at the message in the card if I have to, but it's usually the message that comes through. I'm really repeating myself here, echoing. Sorry,
Wow.
it's
I've
very
got static
distracting.
noise in the background here and I can't work out who's trying to chat. I can hear a man's voice chatting in the background.
Oh, I can just hear myself repeating.
How annoying.
Yes,
Am I repeating?
repeating, repeating, repeating. Echo, 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 echo.
I find that cards, I will look at things in the cards, but I'm more drawn to reading the messages. So I will always chuck the booklet out. I actually read your book in your alignment cards because I wanted to see what you wrote, and it was very cool. It wasn't annoying and freaking long-winded. So you had me. You had me at the hello part. But
I'm just a simple gal.
I love it because I don't have time to spend listening to 400 pages of how to do something. So, but a lot of the decks with their booklets I will chuck out. And what I do when I read any sort of card whatsoever is I will look at where my eye falls. And is it looking at a red thing? Is it looking at a blue thing? Am I looking at the sky? Am I looking at the trees? I will break it down like that because wherever my eye is being drawn to in the first thing, that's the most important thing to get from the cards. And then what
Absolutely.
I see next could be the next important thing. And then I start to create a storyline. So the message is, yes, it's a card, but it's also where my eyes are falling on that card.
Yeah.
Or if I
And
pick up a crystal, the
yeah.
same thing, how am I feeling with this crystal? And sometimes I've got hundreds of crystals. I don't know. They're all confusionite to me because I'm so confused about what they are. They're either pretty or they're not. Um, but when I pick them up, I go, okay, how am I feeling about this? What does this crystal make me feel? Does it make me feel like I'm amped and I want to go roller skating? Or does it make me feel like I'm really calm? Or do I need to go and walk around the garden? How is it making me feel? So that's the message. So it's
Absolutely. And I get them from the cards too. And sometimes I will flip open the book, but I won't read the whole thing. I'll be once again attracted to a word or a sentence. And, when I'm doing my quick readings, like on a Tuesday night, sometimes the same card will come up, but it's a totally different message that gets
yeah.
fed through my intuition. So, yeah, it's interesting, but I do feel that they're just a little bit of a mind distraction for me, so the messages can come through a lot easier.
Yeah.
But a lot of people will use the pendulum, any of the divination tools, the pendulums, the runes, cards, whatever, crystals. People read with crystals. I just feel it's a distraction. Coffee cup readings.
I love that. That fascinates me.
It fascinates me too. I think I'll learn how to do that because actually I don't even have to learn. I think I might start doing that because whenever I see those readings, I can see the pictures in the cup and I'm like, oh my God, I can see that. But I'm the same with flowers too. I get messages from flowers.
Do you read the copy on top or do you read the copy when you finish the cup?
There's someone that I tune into on YouTube that has both. She reads the saucer first after she's turned the cup over.
Oh, yeah.
She'll read the saucer and then she'll read the inside the cup.
That's amazing. That just fascinates me because I always get the one message when I do that. That is, my copy is gone.
Trust that.
Deeper message.
Trust that message. Trust that message. Actually, I have to tell you something interesting that's just come up. I did actually read some tea leaves one day. It was when I was a couple of years back when I was in Canberra working for real estate, and we were out for our Christmas dinner. And I didn't talk about my psychic stuff or anything there. It was just better just not to even mention it because it just gets poo-pooed and whatever, And so we're out there and then they started talking about something and I'm like, yeah, I can read your tea.
To wind in.
Come on then, I'm watching. Come on. And I did, and I gave him a really accurate. This is my boss. I gave him a really accurate reading, but and I knew that he took it in and that it moved him. But
Wow.
he didn't let everybody else know. But yeah, so I can read tea. There you go.
Please show off. You have to teach me.
Well, we need to get together on a
On a dirty tea drinking weekend or something.
But that's all trust too, because I mean I might see an elephant or a beautiful princess or something in a coffee cup or a tea leaf or a card or a flower or anything, and no one else sees it. It's really that trust. It really is.
Yeah. No. I think if I want to, I'd probably be good at reading donuts. I'd give donuts a go.
I can probably the message will be eat me.
It's gone. Things are not going to end well. I see a short-lived life. I predict the box will be empty soon. See, I'm all over this. This is a new skill. I'm going to have to break it out. The donut reading.
Donut readings.
And messages and getting messages is serious business, and being able to provide someone with the clarity that they need to be able to move through that grief or that confusion period is serious. But you've also got to understand that we're humans and that we are interpreting sometimes information, and we can spit it out to the best of our ability. But we also have to be able to be kind to ourselves. So if we do get it wrong, say, got it wrong. There was a lady a little while ago, and when I saw her cat, I saw a picture of the cat, and the cat had passed away. And the cat's a goner. It's an absolute goner. And I said to her, I'm so sorry, but every time I tune into your cat, I feel that your cat's gone. It's just that's what I'm getting. Well, her cat turned up, lo and behold, very not in a good health way at all, but a cat turned up. And instead of me going, thank God she told me, because I love that. I love being wrong when it comes to these sorts of things. But she said to me, we found, her kitty cat, and I was over the moon for this woman. And I am genuinely over the moon. The fact that I got it wrong or that I saw it differently doesn't enter my mind because I interpreted the information that I had at that point. So, so sometimes you just get it wrong, or you seeing what you're seeing, but it's not actually what's happening. And I think what it comes down to is your honesty and intent. If someone comes to me and says, can you tap into Uncle Brian for me? And I cannot get Uncle Brian because Uncle Brian does not want to talk. I'm not going to sit there and bullshit about Uncle Brian. I'm going to say, look, he doesn't want to talk. He doesn't want to talk to me. I can't get him in. I'm really sorry. Here's 3 other mediums I know. Maybe they can do it for you, but he doesn't want to talk to me. And I think there's no embarrassment or shame or any sort of negative feeling that you should have if you can't do something. I think the negative feeling or the shame or embarrassment should be coming in if you're going to be porky pie telling about your abilities or misleading someone through that period. I think it all comes down to intent.
Absolutely, and integrity, and you just certainly have to do that. I tend to do that as well if I'm just not getting anything. Sometimes people's energies are blocked too, so
I remember I had a lady, and she came to sit with me, and she wanted to tap into her grandma. Well, before this lady's bum hit the ground, hit the seat, her grandma was whipped straight in, and I'm like, oh, I've got your grandma here. She looks like this. She does this. She's this tall. And now she's wearing this, and she's taking me to a 2-story brick house. She goes, no, 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 and I'm like, is that your granddaughter? And the grandma's saying, yes, that's my grand. Turned out that the lady that was sitting, the human that was sitting, had actually never met her past deceased grandmother. She didn't know what she looked like, didn't know which house she lived in. And I'm like, how am I going to get anything validated for you if you've never seen a picture of this woman? You don't know what she looked like. You don't know how tall she is. This woman was either estranged from her family or something was going on there. But I couldn't actually validate, but this lady comes screaming in. She was like, I'm her grandma, and this is where, and the 2-story house, and the piece of jewelry that she wants is underneath the stairs. I could not get her to listen to anything I was saying. And I said, there's a lady over there, go and sit with her, see if she can help you. Instead, here's your money back. The lady over there said, oh, the watch is under the stairs. Is there like a staircase or something? Oh, yeah. And I'm like, was I speaking Swahili? So it was all in its receptivity, and
It
but
is.
Grandma was loud and clear. She said, "This is for me. It's not for anyone else." So
Yeah.
and how open that person is, and I mean, I could have sat there and described this woman till I was blue in the face, but this other lady had never seen her, so
Yeah, that's it.
yeah,
That's it. And I think, for everybody listening into the podcast or watching it live in our audience here, and lots of clients that I work with who are tuning into their abilities now, even just to do a simple card reading or use the pendulum, something really simple, or to use their mediumship work or just get their messages from their higher self. It really has to start with trust. It's got to start with your trust in yourself. Because the messages, when you're trusting yourself and when you're present, the messages really are in a way that will become clear to you if you just get out of your head and trust it. And the more you do it, and that's the other thing, isn't it, about being honest? And the more you do it, the more clear it is. So if you're just starting and you mess up a message, don't worry, just kind of go, oh, well, I'm just learning to trust this flow of messages coming through me, and obviously I just had a block there or got mixed up or something. But it really is practice. What I had to tune into was all of those years in the nail salon industry, where really I was just filing people's nails and channeling stuff, right? At the age of 17, giving marital advice to, people, marital and career advice to people my age now in their 50s, right? I'm like, where the fuck did that come from? Oh, this is what you can do. Here's a solution. And I never even had any doubts about this stuff I was delivering. I just thought, oh, I must just know it. Doesn't everybody do this? But it was interesting when I started naming what I was doing.
Yeah.
When I named it, my trust factor changed. It was just so interesting. So I've had to go back just to that flow of, what this is. Let me tune into that. Oh yeah, here's the solution, rather than putting labels on anything, because that really tripped me up. And I think that anybody starting in the intuitive field in any way would have received messages before, when they were in a relaxed state, when they were perhaps scribbling or drawing or whenever. And maybe go back to that if they're losing their trust, to go back to that state where the flow is easy.
Yeah. Kind of similar to what you and I were talking about yesterday. I think it might have been, or earlier today.
The other day.
That other day, that other one, where we were talking about, because Trish and I had a couple of conversations around similar things about a week apart. And Trish said, well, what's the difference today compared to last week? And I'm like, well, I'm still the same person. You're still the same person, still the same topic, still the same message. What is the difference? And the difference came down to my frustration levels. And because I was so frustrated last week about it, I actually wasn't able to take it all in. And when we get, and it's the same thing with receiving messages, if we get frustrated with ourselves because we're stuffing it up, or we feel like we're stuffing it up, you're not going to be able to take it in. You can bank it and you can think about it later, but you're not going to be able to take it in, because you've already reached that fuddled brain feeling where you're frustrated, or you're disappointed, or you're angry with yourself because it's not flowing.
Or distrust in yourself.
Yep. So, and then I think, well, the only thing that's different is my frustration level. So Trish gave me some advice a week ago, and I'm like, I can't deal with this right now. And then I can deal with it. I'm like, oh my God, she was right. So not that she was never wrong. It's just that because I was so frustrated with the situation, I was struggling to take it in and comprehend everything. And then when I've had a few days to settle my frustration down and settle my receptivity down, then I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that is the
Take it in.
greatest solution. That's exactly how it's going to come about. And
Yeah.
believing and trusting the messages is exactly the same thing. If you put too much pressure on yourself to do it, or you're at that frustration level, you get angry, or you have those bitter words towards yourself, you dumbass, why can't you do this, for example, you're not going to be able to get those messages in. You're just not.
Yeah,
Focusing on
absolutely.
that negative vibration, that negative frequency out. So have a bit of fun with it.
Yeah. Just play with it, and yeah, don't be too hard on yourself. That's a really good message too, because when you are in the flow, it will come. And everybody receives messages and gives messages in different ways. You and I work in similar but very different ways, and so my results are different to yours, and it will go for everybody in this field. It actually goes for everybody in any field, right? You can get two scientists; they will also receive messages about their work in a different way. So people need to just start believing in themselves and not thinking it has to be a certain way. If you're getting a message in a particular way, trust it. Just trust it.
Yeah.
And just be curious. I think curiosity helps as well. It's like,
Exactly.
oh, well, that's interesting.
Yep. Keep asking questions. You're like,
Keep asking.
that, do you mean this? I don't really understand that. Or you, a good way to say that is, does this make sense to you? And then zip it and let the person that you're reading for, that you're giving the message to, be able to answer that, because sometimes it makes perfect sense to them, and you're thinking, what the hell just happened? I don't understand any of this shit. But for them, it's like, oh yeah, like,
I know. It still surprises me.
I punched someone in the arm once, and it was in the shoulder, and I had to punch them in the shoulder. And I'm like, I'm not punching this person in the shoulder. And the man that was with me, the spirit man, said, yes, you are. Do it now. So I punched him in the shoulder, and she goes, oh my God, I used to do that. I'm like, oh, here we go. So, I don't recommend punching people for the hell of it. But, or other people just, you'll accidentally use their nickname. I used a lady's nickname and called her Bubs, and asked her to sit when the fair that I met Trish at, I read for a particular lady, and I said, oh, come and sit down, Bubs, or how you going, Bubs? And I'm like, I've just called this stranger Bubs. And that was the nickname that her brother-in-law had for her. So she loved it. But I just thought, oh my God, what's just come out of my mouth?
Yeah, where's that come from?
Exactly. So sometimes you're just better off just letting the shit flow out and deal with it later.
And deal with it later. Yeah. And that's what I'm doing now with some of those really weird, wacky messages. Like, oh, I'm not going to say that. But then I just say it and I go, does that make sense to you? Because I guess that's me doubting it a little bit, and it just helps with that trust. And it stops it from building up. And so you get that flow going, and they can confirm some of the wacky stuff that's coming through. You can just okay, and you can just let it all flow through. So and this month in Holistic Bliss magazine, it's a month of magic and miracles. There's some amazing articles in there from you and I, but also from so many other amazing people that talk about this, the trust that they've had with different areas in their life, and with their different talents and skills, and they've had to build up their trust too. So head over there to holisticblissmagazine.com and check all that out, because there's a lot of other people that you can not just ask, not just the stories we have here for you, but when you look at what other people do as well, I was going to say people aren't born with that trust, but actually we are born with that trust. And then it kind of gets,
shit happens. We lose it.
We lose it. So we are born with the trust. We sometimes take a long time to remember it. And if you are kind of waking up now and starting to remember these skills that you've got but don't trust them, have a look at other people that are doing similar to you and read their stories and
Yeah.
and see, you know, what they've had to do to up that trust level, because, you know, Johnita and I have also had to do that as well with different
Yeah.
areas. Yeah.
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 Absolutely. And I mean, some people might not necessarily be as forthcoming about our life stories as what Trish and I are, but we've all walked different paths and different ways of getting here. And, you know, we've had that either born with trust and lost it, or had it destroyed, or never knew what it was, you know, all different areas. And that's what makes us so cool. And that's why there's no one sure way of receiving messages. They will be different every single time. So,
Absolutely. And one last thing I just want to say is we really need, at this time in the planet's evolution, we need to open our hearts up and really embrace who we are and really love who we are and trust that guidance that's coming into us. It's really important at this time. So whatever you need to do to build that trust for yourself first, and then to help other people in some way, it really is. I bet a lot of people listening are really getting this calling now. They're getting this calling. So keep going. If you've started, keep going.
Don't stop now. Just getting warmed up. We need more.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, that was interesting tonight.
That was a great one. That was really cool.
All sorts of things, and even including a little echoing interlude, which was pretty exciting. It's kind of like a halftime break, wasn't it?
Well, it was. The interesting thing was, as soon as you said you've got an echo, I started hearing someone talking, and I'm like, "What is that?"
Ah,
And it was on my good ear. So usually I get the voice in my head, not audibly, and then
okay.
it disappeared. And when it disappeared, then you stop talking about the echo, and I'm like, okay, so that's something in it for us. So maybe we just got
Interesting.
downloaded the lotto numbers,
Oh, maybe,
and that's a
maybe.
message we will never receive.
No. Well, if you had an energy there, but it just messes up with sound waves, doesn't it? So
Yeah,
interesting. If those numbers come through, feel free to trust them and, you know, send them my way.
if you see Trish and I down at the local news agency, you might want to overhear our numbers.
I'm still seeing my beautiful blue glow around my camera here tonight too. So
What do you think that means? Have you got any
well,
idea yet?
when I saw the red this morning, it kind of it was like a really deep magenta, so it was kind of pink. So for me it was just a beautiful loving energy. And then when I saw the blue, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Blue for me at that time was healing. This time, what I'm looking at right now, it's about this big, this little. Right now I'm just really tuning into more protective kind of Archangel Michael kind of energy, more protective energy. But you know, I've had a lot of crown and third eye openings in the last week, so perhaps it's crown chakra energy too. Who knows? I need to tune in and trust it.
Well, you've got lapis on, and that is third eye.
It is. I was really drawn to this. My
And you've
bell.
got a rooftop as well.
Yeah, so just interesting. I'll tune into it tonight and just see what the messages might have been. But I'm definitely, over this last week, have had some big shifts, and I know you've had some big shifts too. My ears, I'm hearing more precisely, I'm seeing more acutely, and I just think that perhaps my sight has shifted so that I'm seeing more spectrum of light. So perhaps higher vibration. Yeah.
Cool.
Interesting
I'll
stuff.
report next week on how many different colours you're seeing. I love that. I love it when we get something new to try, because it means because I mean, obviously gives us a bit of confidence, gives us an idea of what we might want to have a research of or what it might mean, and get Googling and check it all out. And interestingly, when you shared your lapis with me before we came on tonight, I picked up my 2 blue adventurines. So so it's obviously a lot of blue, and I've just checked around my desk, and I actually have 3 other blue things on here.
It's all throat. It's all expression, and
Yeah.
my throat has been really clearing too. So I see that as a sign too, and I think we spoke about this. My heart is opening. So I've got energy coming up. I've got this all opening, I've got energy coming down, and it's kind of getting stuck. So that's my sign to really start speaking out a little bit more expression, and probably yours too. It's just the stage
Yeah.
that we're at. Yeah.
Yeah. Bring
Interesting.
it on. Next time I get sent on a soapbox and Yahoo and Yodel, I'm a happy woman. So
All righty.
we're all done. Thank you very much for
are.
coming along, everybody. It's always cool to have our live audience right here on Facebook. You can watch us live every Wednesday night at 6:30 Australian Eastern Time.
You can, and you can also subscribe to our podcast through Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts, Google, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and many others. And if you are listening on one of those channels, please leave us a review, give us a thumbs up, or message us and let us know how cool we are, or not.
And of course, thank you to our sponsor, Holistic Bliss Magazine, and to all of you who are supporting our work. Thanks very much.
Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Sure will. Have a good week ahead. Bye for now.
Bye.